You've heard the term witness cardiac arrest. Well, what would you do if you were one of the EMTs or paramedics who responded to the single most witnessed cardiac arrest in human history? Would you do the right thing? We'll find out on this episode of One for the Road. It's fortunately not a common occurrence, but sudden cardiac arrest in young athletes happens frequently enough that we all need to be aware of what causes it and what we should do about it. The case of NFL athlete Damar Hamlin brought that into the public's attention in a huge way. Damar Hamlin plays safety for the Buffalo Bills. He suffered a cardiac arrest immediately following a tackle of another player. He was treated by an amazing group of medical providers. He was transported to the hospital and he was discharged home 9 days later. Incredibly, he returned to NFL play 6 months later. So what happened? What happened to Damar and what would you do if you were on that sideline? First, let's talk about why young athletes might go into cardiac arrest. There's two types of cardiac arrests that we see in young athletes. One of them we're going to term sudden cardiac arrest. Sudden cardiac arrest events are usually caused by a structural or an electrical abnormality of the heart. So it's something pre-existing that's unrecognized that they bring to the field with them. Another one is what we call commotio cordis. And that's a sudden cardiac arrest that occurs when someone experiences a hit or a small blow to the chest directly over the heart. And if it occurs at just the right point in their cardiac cycle, it can put them into sudden cardiac arrest. So what do we do about that? I think the first thing that we should think about is educating our coaches and parents. They need to understand that this is a possibility because oftentimes we just don't even imagine that such a thing is possible. If there's any good news about what happened to Damar Hamlin is that it happened in such a public way that hopefully a lot more people are aware of it. Another thing is chest protectors, and these have been around for a little while now, but we need to encourage our parents in any athletic sport where a young athlete might take a blow to the center of the chest, that they're wearing some kind of chest protector. And that's not only football and rugby players or hockey players, but also baseball players and possibly our basketball athletes as well. Another one that's important for us to understand as providers is that any unconscious athlete is in cardiac arrest until we prove otherwise. That's important, and I'm going to say it again. Any unconscious athlete on a field is in cardiac arrest until you prove otherwise. Another thing is AED availability, because if it's available at the facility, the chances of survival are much higher for these young athletes. Venues with AEDs, where the AED is nearby and is deployed during that sudden cardiac arrest, survival is as high as 80%. If that athlete has to wait for the AED or the defibrillator that comes on the responding ambulance, their survival rate goes down to 50%. If there's a delay in recognizing their cardiac arrest and their need for defibrillation, survival goes down to 24% if that's not available to them immediately. So the presence of an AED has a strong impact, and that AED needs to be near the field. Let's face it, if we're in the gymnasium where they're playing basketball, that AED is probably a reasonable distance away. But if this is out on the softball field, way in the back 40, an AED that's present in the school is just not going to be close enough. So we need to find a way to make sure that that AED is near where our young athletes are playing sports. Almost always, sudden cardiac disruption in a young, healthy, perfect heart is a great candidate for a shock and defibrillation. So we do those good compressions and we get that AED or that defibrillator and we shock this patient immediately. There you have it. I certainly hope you never have to respond to a young athlete in cardiac arrest, but if you do, I hope you're well prepared, like the team that responded to Damar Hamlin. And I hope your outcome is positive as well. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you being here. I'm Steve Whitehead, and that is One for the Road.